at lendwithben.com.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The number of new COVID-19 cases in the state dropped for the third straight week, even as hospital admissions continue to tick up. The state reported just over 23,000 new cases, a drop of 2,500 cases, or about 10% from the preceding week. Novant Health has announced its new location for one of its Michael Jordan family medical clinics. That clinic will be located at 3009 Princess Place Drive near Creekwood South Apartments. Novant purchased the land from the Wilmington Housing Authority thanks to a $10 million gift from the basketball icon. The other clinic bearing his name will be at 15th and Greenfield Streets on land donated by New Hanover County. They will offer primary care, integrated behavioral health, and community health workers. And now to Cape Fear Community College, where eligible high school graduates in North Carolina can have their tuition and fees covered at CFCC for up to 2 years. The money comes through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. Class of 2020, 2021, and 2022 high school graduates may be eligible to receive this grant for tuition and fees toward a degree or to attain transfer credit. The money does not need to be repaid. Full-time eligible students can get between $700 to $2,800 per year. Part-time students may receive a partial award. The Longleaf Commitment Grant program ends at the conclusion of the 2023 spring semester. And Wave Transit is offering its services to travelers as gas prices continue to skyrocket. Wave Transit tweeted out that tomorrow is National Dump the Pump Day and that people can participate in a Dump the Pump challenge and win a free bus pass. All you have to do is post a photo of yourself on Instagram riding Wave Transit, biking, or walking using the hashtag DumpThePump2022 and tagging RideTheWaveILM. Participants will be contacted by Wave Transit staff via direct message in the platform. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands today as our highs climb into the lower 90s away from the coast. Middle and upper 80s along the immediate coastline. Excellent beach weather with low end risk for rip currents as well. Only a small chance for an isolated shower to develop later this afternoon. As for tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us and temperatures are falling to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Well, I never felt more like singing a blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, you. Why'd you do me this way?
MusicRewind.com presents the Nashville Hitmakers, a collection of 60 songs that helped inspire the Nashville sound movement in the 1950s.
She thinks I still care.
Billy, Billy, Bio, watch where you go.
Order the Nashville Hitmakers at MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556 today and pay only $19.98. Plus, get reduced shipping. Just enter or mention promo code HITS55. Go to MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556. Remember HITS55 to save on shipping. This offer is available for a limited time to U.S. residents only and cannot be combined with any other offer.
Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network. It's a Thursday morning, so yes, I'm a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, wiped out. Don't forget to visit the website, bigtalkers.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. You'll love it. It's a way of life. And don't forget to email us. That's right. Email us with any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, or compliments you may have, because we cannot improve without your assistance. And as pointed out by Dan yesterday, you can pair your smart device with your automobile's entertainment center system, drive around and enjoy your gig. You know, whatever it takes to get the Big Talker into your ear holes is what we're all about. And that's why we have so many platforms. We have the app, we have the website, we have live stream, we have instant access to like all the other shows. Every show that's ever been. There we go. Come on, computer. Anyway, gonna have some fun this morning. I don't know if y'all are aware of the significance of what happened yesterday. Trying to remember, I think it's in Virginia where this happened. But my computer is still being very, very difficult. It's almost subject of Jeopardy conversation at this point, really. Oh, come on. Does anybody else know the name John Hinckley? Not a used shoe salesman. No. No. He's a little more culturally significant than that. Actually. It was, 1981. I was 16 years old, and he tried to shoot. Well, he did shoot. He tried to kill Ronald Reagan. Yesterday, he was released of all court oversight. Let me explain this. He was acquitted. So your Jeopardy answer just got a lot more complicated. John Hinckley gained full freedom 41 years after Ronald Reagan assassination attempt, coming from The Guardian. Hinckley, who shot and wounded the president in 1981 but was acquitted by reason of insanity, had decades of mental health supervision. Supervision by legal and mental health professionals. Quote, after 41 years, 2 months, and 15 days, freedom at last, he wrote on Twitter shortly after noon on Wednesday. The lifting of all restrictions had been expected since late September. U.S. District Judge Paul F. Friedman in Washington had said he would free Hinckley on 15 June if he continued to remain mentally stable in the community of Virginia where he has lived since 2016. Hinckley, who was acquitted of trying to kill the then U.S. president by reason of insanity, spent the decades before that in a Washington mental hospital. Hinckley has gained nearly 30,000 followers on Twitter and YouTube in recent months as the judge loosened Hinckley's restrictions before fully lifting all of them. But the graying 67-year-old is far from being the household name that he became after shooting and wounding the 40th U.S. president and several others outside a Washington hotel. Today, historians say Hinckley is at best a question on a quiz show and someone who unintentionally helped build the Reagan legend and inspire a push for stricter gun control. One guy's quoted, if Hinckley had succeeded in killing Reagan, then he would have been a pivotal historical figure, H.W. Brands, a historian and Reagan biographer, wrote in an email to the Associated Press. As it is, he is a misguided soul whom history has already forgotten. I was 16, man. I was very much aware when I saw the news that night, because there was no interwebs at this time, right? Email was like just getting started, and you either had to be rich or important to have an email address. It was very important. So, watching this thing unfold and seeing the film clips, right? Because they were live on TV when this happened, because they were following him and, doing a little news report, and then all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. We're not talking soda. Continuing, Barbara A. Perry, a professor and director of presidential studies at the University of Virginia's Miller Center, said that Hinckley would be maybe a Jeopardy question. But his impact remains tangible in Reagan's legacy. For the president himself to have been so seriously wounded and to come back from that actually made Ronald Reagan the legend that he became, like the movie hero that he was, Perry said. Reagan showed grace and humor in the face of death, Perry said. After being shot, the president told emergency room doctors that he hoped they were all Republicans. He later joked to his wife, Nancy, that he was sorry he forgot to duck. When the president first spoke to Congress after the shooting, he looked just a little bit thinner, but he's still the robust cowboy that is Ronald Reagan, Perry said. The assassination attempt paralyzed Reagan press secretary James Brady, who died in 2014. In 1993, President Bill Clinton signed into law the Brady Bill, which required a 5-day waiting period for handgun purchases and background checks of prospective buyers. The Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence and the Brady Center to Prevent Gun Violence are named after Brady and his wife, Sarah. The shooting also injured Secret Service agent Timothy McCarthy and Washington police officer Thomas Delahanty. Hinckley was 25 and suffered from acute psychosis at the time of the attack. When jurors found him not guilty by reason of insanity, they said he needed treatment and not a lifetime of confinement. He was ordered to live at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington. In the 2000s, Hinckley began making visits to his parents' home in a gated community in Williamsburg. A 2016 court order granted him permission to live with his mother full-time, albeit under various restrictions, after experts said his mental illness had been in remission for decades. Hinckley's mother died in July. He signed a lease on a one-bedroom apartment in the area last year and began living there with his cat, Theo, according to court filings. Over the years, the court restricted Hinckley from owning a gun or using drugs or alcohol. He also couldn't contact the actress Jodie Foster, with whom he was obsessed at the time of the shooting, or any of his victims or their families. That was 41 years ago? What were you doing 41 years ago? Think about it. I know some of the audience hadn't been born yet. Some of the audience are like, Reagan? I think Reagan was probably one of the single greatest motivators for the punk wave, punk music, underground punk. The nascent beginnings of indie, because nobody wanted to press punk records, so we started doing it ourselves. I mean, I'm only on like 2 tracks throughout that entire, bucket of history that is punk music, certainly coming out of the Albuquerque area. But yeah, I had a mohawk. That was fun. That's my admission. I was almost as bald as Dan, but I left a little, it looked like a dead ferret when it wasn't treated, and when it was treated, it stood up like a shark fin. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was the time. But Reagan inspired more pop art and punk music than just about anything or anyone. I don't know if anybody remembers the never mind. It's too early in the morning for that for you guys. I'm sorry. So my friend Andrew Donaldson had a couple of hiccups delivering his show. One of them was due to some internet issues up in his neck of the woods. I'm not sure how far up in them hills he was, but I have a story out of UPI. My friend Ben Hooper. He's not my friend. I mean, I don't know the guy. I mean, I'm going to send him a fruitcake just for as many stories as I get from him. He's complaining about internet service up there. Well, not complaining. He is the victim of poor rural internet because, we just don't care. The further away you live from economic center, the less we care about your well-being and information access there, too. That's why Appalachia, or Appalachia, depending on who you are, and where you're from, just doesn't have internet access overall because, we don't want those people to be smart. Them are hillbillies. They don't even need the damn shoes, you know what I'm saying? Internet cellular service outage in British Columbia blamed on a beaver. There you go, Andrew. On June 14th, utility officials in British Columbia said a beaver was responsible for an outage that affected a small number of power customers and a large number of internet, landline, and cellular customers. Bob Gammer of BC Hydro said an aspen tree fell on BC Hydro lines and a TELUS fiber optic cable line strung from BC Hydro poles in the area between Topley and Houston. Or Houston, I think is how they pronounce it. The tree caused 21 customers, exactly 21 customers. I mean, this is how, never mind. 21 customers to lose powers and hundreds of TELUS customers to lose internet, landline, and cellular service in Burns Lake, Granile, Heidi Guay, the Hazeltons, Kitimat, Prince George, Prince Rupert, Smithers, Terrace, Thornhill, Houston, Topley, Telqua, Fraser Lake, and Vanderhoof. I've heard of like one place in that list. Gammers said workers found chew marks at the bottom of the felled tree and determined it had been toppled by a beaver. Bad aim, buddy. Must be having some fermented pumpkin. It's unusual, but it does happen every once in a while, Gammer told CTV News. So I wouldn't be a rich man if I had a nickel for every beaver outage, but they do happen. The tree caught fire when it came in contact with the lines, and the flames were extinguished by Topley Volunteer Fire Department. TELUS services were restored after about 8 hours. Officials said that there were no indications that the beaver had been harmed in the incident. I'm sure there's 21 people who feel differently about that. I'm kidding. But still, man, that's got to be a drag. That, your local wildlife, you're trying to be nice to them, and how do they repay you? By sabotaging your infrastructure. Or it was, some sort of underground deep state communist plot where a bunch of guys came in and they used little wire cutter things, and make it look like a beaver had chewed through the tree. Otherwise, why would it aim so perfectly to knock those 21 people out of power, or knock the power out for those 21 customers, as well as interrupt, disrupt, and otherwise obfuscate the internet connection for the rest of the rich people up in that area? But if there's only, never mind. I'm going to leave it there. And the tree burst into flames. Well, of course it did. That's a lot of energy coursing through a power line. Right? You can see it at every storm here in North Carolina. Just find you a little bit of overgrowth. Get a couple of lines swinging in there. Let the tree branch, right? Make that contact. There is a couple of other photographs available on the internet where animals have interacted with electricity and lost. So, just so you know that. I do have another Asylum-worthy chunk of news to look at. This is not far from where I last lived before moving to the beautiful area of North Carolina. Clark County, Indiana. Oh my God, southern Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. Where they known for bourbon and horse racing and all other kind of silliness. State trooper pulls over a man driving motorized Walmart cart on Indiana Interstate. By Izzy Karpinski of the News Star Media Wire. Clark County, Indiana, WXIN state troopers came across an unlikely vehicle on a southern Indiana interstate, an electric Walmart cart. On Monday around 5 a.m., senior trooper Rob Cottle came across a man riding an electronic cart and pushing a construction barrel on I-265 in Clark County, according to a Facebook page by the Sellersburg Department of the Indiana State Police. ISP, that's the Indiana State Police, said the man was taken into Louisville, Kentucky for pending charges. The cart was recovered and returned to Walmart. You never know what you will see on the interstate, ISP wrote. Officials want to remind Hoosiers that unauthorized vehicles like electric carts are not allowed on the interstate. Plus, slower vehicles should use the right-hand lane. Oh, please tell me he was in the left lane. Are you kidding me? A vehicle that travels at a speed less than the established maximum shall travel in the right lanes to provide for better traffic flow on the interstate highway, wrote the ISP. There are some exceptions for slower vehicles to use the left lane, like inclement weather, traffic conditions, or to give an authorized emergency vehicle in operation right of way. No way. Pushing a construction barrel. There's a photograph of it. This cannot, the amount of friction. In the photograph, they show the cart and the barrel, and there's a big dent in the side of the barrel. It's a plastic one, and one of the big round ones, not the cone shape or the thin guys, but it's got the big rubber boot at the bottom, right? And if he was pushing this thing laterally, that is, it's standing upright and pushing it, a car, that's going to take a lot of energy. So that cart was not going very fast. I mean, they could have arrested him while walking. That is absolutely hysterical. Yep. That's Indiana for you. That's Louisville, Kentucky for you right there. That's where they make bourbon in a dry county. Seriously, like, anything that's bourbon is made in bourbon. I mean, bourbon, like champagne, can only come from Champagne region of France. Bourbon, true bourbon, is only made in Bourbon County, Kentucky. Bourbon County, Kentucky is a dry county. Hominis Americanus. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not sure if I have the right Long Island. I'm hoping there's only one. Otherwise, I'm going to be very, very confused. Coming out of, ABC 7? What is this? ABC 7, New York. At least 14 kids hurt when inflatable bounce house overturns in Long Island Park. Oops. More than a dozen children were injured when an inflatable bounce house toppled over in Long Island Park Tuesday morning. It happened around 9:30 in the morning at Wyandanch Park on Mount Avenue in Wyandanch. I'm sure somebody's going to call me and just, read me the riot act. The children from Las Francis Hardeman Elementary School were at the park as part of Field Day in the Wyandanch School District. The bounce house, which also had a large slide and a rock climbing wall, was packed with 6- and 7-year-old kids inside and on top of it when it fell over. Horrified parents watched as their children flew in the air and landed on a tennis court. Oh my God. The bounce house lifted up, and when it lifted up, you saw him go over first. Another little girl holding on for dear life, said one mom who didn't want her name used. It was horrible. One child, 7-year-old Jason Randolph, was nearby and had other children fall on top of him. He's just minding his own business, and suddenly it's raining kids. There was too much people in the bouncy house, and then the thing fell over. And some people got hurt, and they went to the hospital. Some of them fall on me, and some of them did not. That would be Jason's quote. Thankfully, all of the injuries appeared to be minor, though one child suffered a broken leg. Police say there were 14 children on the slide at the time, though the total number of injuries, including anyone hurt on the ground, remains unclear. 4 other children were transported to hospitals for minor injuries. I came and picked him up, so now we're going to get him checked out and make sure everything is okay, Jason's mom, Juanya Randolph, said. They checked him out, the ambulance and everything, so we're just going to go get him checked out by his primary. Another mom said her daughter was hurt, but it was another child with a more serious injury. When I seen that child go from the sky up, fell to the gate, and that's where he landed, she said, you heard it when he hit his head. It was horrible. Oh, man. Lamont Brown's 2 children in 2nd grade and pre-K were just feet away. When it fell over, it came over like a big tree, just tumbled over. Kids falling off, it was ridiculous. He said, my daughter was leaving because she decided that she didn't want to go get on the bouncy house. There was just too many people, so we were walking away when it went over. We seen it blow over as we were walking away, so thank God she didn't get on. Parents at the scene said they had concern that the slide was not properly secured, but the investigation is ongoing. We recognize that this is a very scary event witnessed by our young scholars, staff, and families, and we are deeply concerned about how this could have happened, Superintendent Dr. Gina Talbert said. The district has immediately initiated a thorough investigation, including working with the company who provided the inflatables into the cause of the situation. We will provide more information as available. At this time, our priority is the health and well-being of the students who may have been injured and those students who attended the event. It's not clear if the wind or the weight of the children made the bounce slide buckle. But Jacob Corey, the manager of Jump Around Party Rentals based out of Huntington, says everything was done properly. The bounce house was secured properly. He said, I was here to install it this morning myself. He said the elementary school chose not to hire an attendant, which means it was the school's responsibility to monitor the kids. Some jobs they hire an attendant, he said. A lot of the schools they hire an attendant. This one didn't. They didn't pay for someone to be here. I don't think that should be an option, really. I mean, not that the bounce house itself is deadly, right? But a curious kid who, loosens or unties, because we use, all right, full disclosure, Cucaloras, we use pop-up cinema for pop-up cinema, we use inflatable movie screens. The screen itself isn't inflatable, but the frame is inflatable. So, when it's all packed up and folded, it's like 450 pounds of solid right? But when you fill it with air, it's almost like a dodgeball, right? It's kind of bouncy, not really, basketball return type bounce, but it's one person can actually bump it and move it, right? I can sit there and bounce it across the ground to move it into a better position or, to correct its position. It's very buoyant when it's filled with air. The problem is the fan has to keep running. And it's a pretty darned powerful fan, I tell you what. And it's connected to the rest of the frame, or in the case of the bouncy house, it's connected to the bouncy house by way of a snorkel. Right? That's the term I've learned for it. And if the fan stops, or if somebody unties that snorkel, or otherwise either restricts the air going into the bouncy house, or prevents it, or whatever, the thing will start to sag. Because it requires that air pressure to remain rigid in its structure, right? Because it's designed around all these seams that when it has, 6 or 7 pounds of pressure, which isn't a lot, doesn't need it, just enough to hold its form. But once you start losing that air pressure, once you're down to, maybe I'll give you 10 for the whole thing, and if it drops to 5, it can no longer support itself, let alone a human being or 16 of them. And I think it's ridiculous, as I would think, as if I were to own a bounce, just like I do with my gear. I don't, it's seldom, very seldom that I leave my gear without some sort of, I do not leave my gear without some sort of attendance. It's seldom that it's not me. Right? So as a bouncy house, it's a lot more dangerous than the rig that I use to run sound. That alone would make it very, very important, because if, a curious kid comes along and unties it, and the teacher goes, oh, no, don't do that, little Jimmy. right? And she ties it back with a cute little bow tie like she's tying a, kid's shoe or something. And you're losing a lot of air out of there. It's not any criminal, malicious, or nefarious act. It's just somebody needs to stand there and say, don't mess with this, right? Don't. They also have Velcro, massive, like, I don't know, 1.5 2 foot wide Velcro flaps that you can pull the flap open and push open the little valve to help collapse the bouncy house faster. Right? And they sometimes have 4 or 5 up in the corner so the higher points can push their air out as it falls down. So if any curious kid came along and started ganking on one of those, yeah, you're done. The air pressure is going to let loose, right? And it may not even be something that you notice that you could see, right? Because the Velcro flaps are designed, using the same material and the same color as the rest of the bouncy house so it doesn't stand out. But all it takes is one curious kid pushing his arm up inside of that and allowing more air to come out than is going into it. Once it starts to deflate to a certain point, it can no longer hold its form, and disaster strikes. And even if it is secured to the ground, think about it. Once it starts sagging, the foundation can remain, but the top is going to fall over because it can no longer support itself. So I'm going to bet, and mark my words as this investigation unfolds, it's not going to be the wind or the weight of the children. It's going to be the loss of air pressure to the structure itself. Bet me. Come on, somebody bet me. This was not anything all... Well, stop that. It's not going to be anything evil or nefarious. Their investigation will reveal that a curious child, without supervision, found the super secret Velcro air release, and the entire bouncy house started to collapse. He meant well. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the Asylum will be back as soon as I get my mouse back under control. Hey. It's really weird. It does that thing where you have it for a second and then it freezes. Thought I had a space bar.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The number of new COVID-19 cases in the state dropped for the third straight week, even as hospital admissions continue to tick up. The state reported just over 23,000 new cases, a drop of 2,500 cases, or about 10% from the preceding week. Novant Health has announced its new location for one of its Michael Jordan family medical clinics. That clinic will be located at 3009 Princess Place Drive near Creekwood South Apartments. Novant purchased the land from the Wilmington Housing Authority thanks to a $10 million gift from the basketball icon. The other clinic bearing his name will be at 15th and Greenfield Streets on land donated by New Hanover County. They will offer primary care, integrated behavioral health, and community health workers. And now to Cape Fear Community College, where eligible high school graduates in North Carolina can have their tuition and fees covered at CFCC for up to 2 years. The money comes through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. Class of 2020, 2021, and 2022 high school graduates may be eligible to receive this grant for tuition and fees toward a degree or to attain transfer credit. The money does not need to be repaid. Full-time eligible students can get between $700 to $2,800 per year. Part-time students may receive a partial award. The Longleaf Commitment Grant program ends at the conclusion of the 2023 spring semester. And Wave Transit is offering its services to travelers as gas prices continue to skyrocket. Wave Transit tweeted out that tomorrow is National Dump the Pump Day and that people can participate in a Dump the Pump challenge and win a free bus pass. All you have to do is post a photo of yourself on Instagram riding Wave Transit, biking, or walking using the hashtag DumpThePump2022 and tagging RideTheWaveILM. Participants will be contacted by Wave Transit staff via direct message in the platform. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands today as our highs climb into the lower 90s away from the coast. Middle and upper 80s along the immediate coastline. Excellent beach weather with low-end risk for rip currents as well. Only a small chance for an isolated shower to develop later this afternoon. As for tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us and temperatures are falling to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
When I tell people I'm a collision repair technician, they usually say, "Can I get your number?" Sooner or later, they're going to need me. I'm the guy who you call when you had a fender bender, who takes your mangled car and brings it back to its former glory. I absolutely love what I do. I trained at CFCC and had job offers waiting on me when I finished. I make great money and can work anywhere. People rely on me. That's a good feeling. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
The way I describe it for people is my dad shot himself and the bullet hit everyone in his life. It was a week before my 30th birthday, and I had this impulse to call him. But I didn't, because I thought I could call him later that week.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. With safe gun storage, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I should talk about Gig Hangover now. Which is why we're not entirely on schedule from the commercial break. Thanks for sticking around, those of you who have. It's probably more entertaining than some of the other news that has been coming down the pipe. Hey, this one's fun. Yeah, that sounds like we're back. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. There it is. That's the drop. This is pretty fierce. I like this. Please visit the Big Talker website, bigtalker.live. There's much better content than the Asylum on there. I promise you that. Hertel, Consumer Choice Radio, all things Brunswick, guns, politics, freedom, when radio was. Today's homeowner. There's more and more coming. But that's what we're working on. I like this track. All right. Enough of that. Gig Hangover. I don't know if anybody knows what Gig Hangover is if you haven't had it. It's a lot like alcoholism, where you drink yourself into oblivion, waking up and can't wait to do it all over again. But instead, it's doing a gig and getting completely wiped out, getting home around 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up and doing a morning show, and all the stuff that goes with running as a radio station every morning, right? I have to deal with the news breaks. I have to process all of this stuff and get it into the slots they belong so that they will air correctly, properly, and sound fantastic in your ear holes. So yeah, I'm a little dragged, but I'm very grateful for the gig. Voice in the Pen ran a little late last night. It was a special event. Yeah, I'm going to consider it a special event. You know, when somebody's family comes in and makes a special appearance, just on with the being in town. I thought that was kind of cool. Family, right? That was kind of cool. All right. Stop editing. I have more news. So, I have been accused of being lonely. But Lori makes me feel so much better about myself. I should introduce you to Lori. Lori is the subject of an article from mirror.co.uk. Lori keeps a smiling potato in the freezer for 5 years, has kept a smiling potato in her freezer for 5 years because it looks friendly. Lori Bricks has been keeping a friendly potato in her freezer for 5 years after she refused to cook it because the spud looks as though it's smiling at her. This one's not American. This is hominis, English, British. Hominis British. Someone have to help me with that. Let's see. Written by Zana Eklund and Helen LeCaplain. Anyway. A woman has been keeping one potato in her freezer for 5 years because it looks as though it's smiling at her. Lori Bricks refused to chop up the spud when she was making hash browns in 2017 because she thought it was so friendly looking that she just had to keep it. So she chucked it in the freezer where it's been living ever since. I don't know if living is the right word. The potato features clearly defined eyes, nostrils, and a smiling mouth. And Lori and her husband, Michael Bricks, have even decided to name the cheery carb Pete. Oh, man. After sparing the spud, Lori and Michael also threw together an impromptu photo shoot featuring pictures of Pete reclining in a chair, sitting at a dinner table and watching TV. 5 years later, 51-year-old Lori recently unearthed Pete from his chilly new home and found the potato is now sporting new additions, including an ice beard and sprout feet. Oh, dear Lord. But Lori from Parker, Colorado, U.S. has said she won't be chucking the spud away anytime soon, as she wants to keep Pete for another 5 years so that she can do another photo shoot that will mark a decade since she found it. She said, I found him 5 years ago in a bag of potatoes from the supermarket. I was pulling them out to make hash browns for breakfast and spotted his little face smiling back at me. I couldn't turn him into hash browns because he was just so friendly looking. He just made me laugh so hard I couldn't throw him away or eat him. I remember thinking it would be a shame to get rid of him. They have anthropomorphized a potato. Just savor that for a moment. They have anthropomorphized a potato. Looking forward in the world, Gary Gastileau from Fox Business, as reported by New York Post, General Motors is developing a car rental service for the moon. How's that? General Motors is looking to make rental cars that are truly out of this world. Boy, I need more coffee. And it just takes so long to make. That's why I missed my break there. The automaker has teamed up with Lockheed Martin to develop a line of lunar mobility vehicles that will provide transportation for manned missions visiting the moon. The collaboration aims to have the vehicles ready ahead of the first manned moon missions of the 21st century, which are currently slated for 2025. The vehicles are being designed with autonomous driving capability and platforms that can handle carrying humans or gear around the lunar surface. Oh, delivery charges are going to be a bear. The project is moving forward independently of NASA's Artemis program and is set to go without any government contracts to back it. GM is using the same driver-in-the-loop simulator it employed in the development of the GMC Hummer EV, which halved its time to market in 2 years. The system has been programmed with the recreation of a section of the moon's surface and set to 1/6 of Earth's gravity. The things that you would do to make a vehicle good in an off-road environment on Earth are the same things you would do on the moon. It's just a shift in the numbers, said Jeff Voigt, GM Advanced Vehicle Dynamics lead engineer. A GM spokesman told Fox Business the idea is that the vehicles will be sent to the moon ahead of the mission, then made available for lease to any government-led expedition that visits the moon, either from the U.S. or other nations. The vehicles will be charged using solar power and are being engineered with easy maintenance that should give them a lifespan of about 10 years. That's forward thinking. That's like the, what was that guy's name? The oil baron tycoon. I mean, that's how you do it. You get there before everybody else. Hey, this is mine. I don't own the moon, but all the vehicles on it go through me. Wow. But that does free up, I mean, think about the logistics that they're going to have to do of sending these vehicles up there, and they're probably going to have to send them, a tech. Because they can't, I mean, how efficiently could you send these vehicles? Because if it's supposed to seat, like, the little visionary thing they have here is looks like a two-seater with a little gear platform in the back. It looks dangerous because, like a carnival ride where you're face first, man. There is nothing in front of you. So some alien zapping guy, right? Boom, you're done. No windshield to protect you from the bugs. I'm kidding. But I don't know if they could actually send them all up there assembled. So, maybe somebody volunteers to zip up to the moon for a 6-month mission assembling a bunch of these rover things. Which is funny, the artist's rendition, the only part that's not a little soft on the texture is the big GM logo on the front. Anyway. I wonder if they're going to, name theirs, right? Like, their models. Like the little coupe here, I guess you would call it. No, it's not a coupe. Coupe. Sport truck, maybe? Yeah. Pretty wicked looking. They might call this the Olympus Mons or something. I don't know, right? Could we name, like, the Sierra? GMC Sierra. Anyway. And personally, I think it looks friendlier than the potato does. So if you're curious, just go look into Fox News General Motors rental service on the moon. I think yesterday we had a story about the child who pooped in the display toilet at a home improvement store in Britain somewhere. Well, now we're going a little deeper in Britain's underworld. We're going from the top of the toilet to the bottom of the toilet. Let me find the poor soul I have to crucify. Jessica Murray from TheGuardian.com has written this wonderful article. Man hid wife's remains in septic tank for nearly 40 years, court told. David Venables accused of killing wife Brenda in Worcestershire. I'm not kidding. That's the town, Worcestershire, in 1982 in order to continue affair. Oh, man. It gets even better. An 89-year-old retired pig farmer who killed his wife so he could continue a long-standing affair hid her remains in a septic tank for nearly 40 years, a court has heard. David Venables is on trial for the murder of his wife Brenda Venables, whom he reported missing on 4 May 1982. Her remains were discovered in 2019 in a septic tank behind the house that the couple had lived in, and Venables was charged with her murder in June 2021. Opening the case of Worcestershire. Yeah, not the Shire, just Worcester Crown Court. On Monday, prosecutor Michael Burrows, QC, said the septic tank had been the perfect hiding place and had allowed Venables to get away with murder for decades. Police investigations at the time, which included using a helicopter to scour the local area, searching rivers, making door-to-door inquiries, and speaking with friends and family, revealed no trace of Brenda's whereabouts. She had been suffering with depression prior to her disappearance, and some assumed she had taken her own life. Her remains were discovered 37 years after she went missing, after Venables sold his house on Quaking House Farm in Kempsey, Worcestershire, to his nephew, who had the septic tank emptied in 2019. Bones had been found in the tank on 2 previous occasions, but were assumed to be animal bones and discarded. However, when a human skull was discovered, the finding was reported to the police. DNA testing confirmed bones found in the tank belonged to Brenda, who was 48 years old at the time of her disappearance, and scraps of clothes found were consistent with styles available at the time. Burrows said Venables had wanted his wife out of the way so he could continue an affair with Lorraine Stiles, whom he had met in 1967 when she was working as a carer for Venables' mother. The pair conducted an on-off relationship for more than 14 years, which Brenda had become aware of, the court heard. In 1981, Venables promised Stiles he was going to divorce his wife so they could start a new life together, Burrows said. He wanted her out of the way. He wanted to resume his long-standing affair with another woman, Burrows said. He knew about the septic tank in his secluded location. It was, for him, almost the perfect hiding place. It meant he didn't have to travel and risk being seen making a suspicious journey around the time of her disappearance, or risk being seen disposing of her body somewhere else. And, of course, even if someone did think to look inside the tank, her body would be hidden from view, and for nearly 40 years it was the perfect place, and he got away with murder. Venables told police he had awoken to find his wife was not in bed or in the house, and told them she had been depressed, Burrows said, and officers noted he didn't seem anxious in any way and appeared calm. Burrows said it is beyond belief to suppose that Brenda Venables took her own life by climbing into the septic tank, and that she somehow shifted the heavy lid and put it back in place above her so that there was no sign of any disturbance. He also said the remote location of the farm where the Venables lived made it preposterous to suppose Brenda had walked out of the house and been attacked by someone else. Venables of Elgar Drive, Kempsey, denies murdering his wife between 2 May and 5 May 1982. The trial, scheduled to last 6 weeks, continues. Whoa. Yeah, that's going underground. That's... Man, just... I learned this joke the hard way. Just find someone you hate, buy her a house. That's marriage. Ooh, goodness. Hey, we haven't done a Florida story yet today. We did a couple of British. How about a Florida story? Huh? Okay. I didn't hear a no, so... Oh, nobody wants to even take credit for this story. But it's coming out of Fox 35 Orlando. Argument over eaten toaster strudel leads to fight and stabbing at Florida student housing, deputies say. A Florida man is accused of cutting his roommate with a pocket knife during a fight that began with an argument over a toaster strudel, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. A deputy was called out to the Nightshade student living community near the University of Central Florida shortly after midnight on Monday, June 6th. I guess it's like from the coast inland. It just gets worse, like more condensed. I don't know. According to the report, a resident told an Orange County deputy that he was stabbed by his roommate after the two were arguing over past incidents where someone ate a toaster strudel that did not belong to them. He was treated by Orange County Fire Rescue, the report said, while the deputy questioned the roommate, 21-year-old Griffin Crystal. Crystal told the deputy that his roommate slapped his phone out of his hand, picked it up, and held on to it. In response, Crystal then used pepper spray on his roommate and took out a pocket knife for protection, according to the report. Both men and a third roommate each recorded portions of the fight, which was reviewed by the deputy. In those videos, according to the report, Crystal is heard calling his roommate a swear word and a criminal before apparently putting his phone close to the roommate's face. The roommate then slapped the phone out of his hand and it fell to the ground. The deputy noted that Crystal immediately pepper sprayed his roommate. At some point, the roommate pins Crystal against the wall with one arm against the chest and appears to try and delete a video off his phone. During the struggle, the roommate was cut on his forearm by the pocket knife, the report said. After that, the roommate left Crystal let Crystal go and called the authorities. Crystal was arrested on charges of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, battery, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He told the deputy that he used the knife for protection. The other roommate was not arrested. We're going nuts over toaster strudels, ladies and gentlemen. Is that just... Hominis Americanus. Stabbing over strudel. Yeah, we're going to win this. We're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. The sun's going to blow up. We're going to be fine. We'll be fine. Come on. We'll be fine. I'm trying to get this computer to behave with me, and it's just not going to. Are you going to give me that noise again, too? Come on. That's what I thought. More noise, more noise. You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and just... Yeah. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That is telling you that the Asylum will be right back after these messages, so you should not go nowhere. We'll be right back in a moment. See you in a minute.
Keeping Wilmington informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach. We wouldn't sell you a dining room table, so don't buy a medical device from a furniture store. US Med Express is Wilmington's leading supplier of golden technology lift and sleep chairs, carrying a variety of models in our showroom at 1733 Dawson Street. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The number of new COVID-19 cases in the state dropped for the third straight week, even as hospital admissions continue to tick up. The state reported just over 23,000 new cases, a drop of 2,500 cases, or about 10% from the preceding week. Novant Health has announced its new location for one of its Michael Jordan family medical clinics. That clinic will be located at 3009 Princess Place Drive near Creekwood South Apartments. Novant purchased the land from the Wilmington Housing Authority thanks to a $10 million gift from the basketball icon. The other clinic bearing his name will be at 15th and Greenfield Streets on land donated by New Hanover County. They will offer primary care, integrated behavioral health, and community health workers. And now to Cape Fear Community College, where eligible high school graduates in North Carolina can have their tuition and fees covered at CFCC for up to 2 years. The money comes through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. Class of 2020, 2021, and 2022 high school graduates may be eligible to receive this grant for tuition and fees toward a degree or to attain transfer credit. The money does not need to be repaid. Full-time eligible students can get between $700 to $2,800 per year. Part-time students may receive a partial award. The Longleaf Commitment Grant program ends at the conclusion of the 2023 spring semester. And Wave Transit is offering its services to travelers as gas prices continue to skyrocket. Wave Transit tweeted out that tomorrow is National Dump the Pump Day and that people can participate in a Dump the Pump challenge and win a free bus pass. All you have to do is post a photo of yourself on Instagram riding Wave Transit, biking, or walking using the hashtag DumpThePump2022 and tagging RideTheWaveILM. Participants will be contacted by Wave Transit staff via direct message in the platform. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands today as our highs climb into the lower 90s away from the coast. Middle and upper 80s along the immediate coastline. Excellent beach weather with low end risk for rip currents as well. Only a small chance for an isolated shower to develop later this afternoon. As for tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us and temperatures are falling to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
There we are. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Please visit the Big Talker website, bigtalker.live. Peruse our schedule of content. Download the app for Android and Apple iOS devices. You'll love it. It's a way of life. That's a Frank Zappa quote for those of you uninitiated, unaware. A little edification on compliments of myself. My gift to you. Yes, it's at the end of Joe's Garage. Actually, not. It's throughout. Actually, it starts in what about the fifth or sixth song? You start hearing references to The White Zone. You'll love it. It's a way of life. So if you got to load or you got to unload, go to the White Zone. You'll love it. It's a way of life. That's what we do here at the Asylum, because we have nothing else. Here's another. Apparently, fuel thefts are on the rise across the nation. And apparently, Florida guy got busted stealing a whole bunch of it, and it's just not as exciting as some of the other things that we might have to discuss. Oh, that's right. We already roasted that week's show. And I still have a few minutes before my friend will join us. I have a little pushback question for him. His show this morning, Heard Tell, had a graduate. I didn't get all the credentials, but he's an economics major. I think I got that right. But he's from Venezuela and is, an American now and very good at what he does. And their conversation was a lot about the changes in cultural reference and why Venezuela simply cannot become a dictator or a democracy at this point. Right? It's about power, it's about money, it's about not giving up that which isn't yours in the first place. Imagine that. That can't happen here. That's another Frank Zappa quote. By the way, he was pretty much on top of that. Even as it was breaking. Now, here's an interesting story. If you thought divorces were ugly, how about divorces with kids? This is coming out of Oddity Central, because I need help this morning. Written by Spooky, right? Now, they're not even going to put their name on it. Divorced man sues his stepson to recover money he allegedly spent on him. Chinese social media was recently rocked by the controversial story of a man who sued his stepson after divorcing his mother, asking for compensation for raising him. Only a few months after divorcing his wife, a Chongqing man surnamed Tang reportedly took his stepson Lu to court, asking for 35,200 won, approximately $5,285, as compensation for the money spent on raising him during the marriage. Tang reportedly married Lu's mother in 2009 when the boy was 10 years old and helped raise him until 2021 when the woman filed for divorce. About 3 months after the separation, Tang filed a lawsuit against his stepson, asking for over 30,000 yen as compensation for living expenses. The peculiar legal dispute sparked outrage among the millions who watched a video of the trial on Chinese Twitter-like platform. I'm not going to pronounce it. I'll try. Sina Weibo. Sounds like a fruit chew. Anyway, most of those who commented accused Tang of taking revenge on his stepson after his marriage failed and never really caring for him as a parent should. Tang started helping raise Lu once he married Lu's mother. Now Tang wants his money back. This sounds more like a fit of pique after his marriage failed, one person wrote. Even after raising the kid for 10 years, it doesn't seem like he ever treated him like a son. That's just so sad, another person commented. Some wondered if, by Tang's logic, it would be reasonable for his ex-wife to demand compensation for the psychological suffering she probably endured during the marriage. Luckily, last month, a local court in Chongqing denied Tang's request, ruling that the expenses he was seeking compensation for had been paid voluntarily. Tang chose to Tang chose to support Liu despite knowing he didn't have a legal responsibility to pay for his university study as Liu has reached 18 years of age, the presiding court judge said. In China, children are legally adults once 18 and parents are no longer expected to cover their living expenses. Imagine that. So China's got some interesting issues going on. I mean, I don't think that would fly here in America either. So, at some level, we're not as different as we may want to make ourselves out to be, if that makes sense. New York Post saves me again. Sarah Grealish, the Sun. I mean, I guess they're just like a reblog portal. Boss blasted for rule that punishes staff for being 1 minute late. Here's a picture of the note I shall read. New office rule, bold, capped, underlined at the top center. A line left, normal font. Drop cap. For every minute you are late for work, you will be required to work for 10 minutes after 6 p.m. For example, if you arrive at 10:02, you will have to stay an extra 20 minutes until 6:20. Thanks. A boss has been blasted for introducing an extreme office rule that punishes staff for being 1 minute late. A poster explaining the draconian rules have gone viral after a disgruntled employee posted it on social media. He captioned the snap, "Shout out the worst place I have ever worked. Minimum wage, of course." The sign reads, "New office rule. For every minute you are late for work, you will be required." I just read it to you. Thousands of people rushed to the comments to give their 2 cents on the harsh rule. One person wrote, "That seems really dumb and highly illegal." Another fumed, "I'd tell them to F off." While a third said, "Do you want to lose employees? Because that's how you lose employees." However, some people agreed with the boss, saying that lateness should be punished. One person pointed out, "It's honestly so easy to show up on time, though. Like, I get to work 10 minutes early." Another agreed, "How about being on time? Quit your whining." Well, so the punishment is almost like something you would get in grade school. You're going to have to stay after class. And multiplying it by 10, that's ridiculous. But I do agree that there should be some sort of, how would you say, guardrail, guideline. This is a direct punitive, "This day you will stay over," which means somebody else has to stay the extra 20 minutes to make sure that they're there the 20 minutes. You see what I'm saying? But encourage them that it's like, okay, it's time for your review. And we just can't justify raising your pay because you're just not here on time often enough to show to us that you care. That you care enough to make this job important enough to be here at least on time. I mean, in the media world, in the production world, on time is late. Early is on time. On time is late. Late is unacceptable. Simple as that. It's worked. It's worked. Worked before. But apparently nobody can take the time to kind of stop and go, hey, there's obviously a reason that the boss wants to make it this extreme because people are showing up late and work's not getting done. And, hey, maybe his rant isn't without merit at least. Now, if they really want to correct the problem, here's how you do it. This is military style. This is how you correct that kind of problem. For every minute that a person is late, everyone else has to stay 10 minutes. That person gets to go home 10 minutes early. How's that? That'll correct it real quick. Right? Because then it's the team that looks at the bad apple and says, look, either shape up or ship out, or we're going to, we're going to make your life a living hell one way or the other. In military school, back in the day when, it was still illegal, but not necessarily discouraged physical hazing. Oh, yeah, I experienced some of that. So if you're the bad apple in the squad, it's not uncommon for them to beat you to death. Well, not to death, but certainly beat you about the head and face, body, legs, and sensitive areas with socks with a lock or bars of soap or whatever will fit inside the sock. That if you can't get out of bed and in formation on time, we will make sure that you know not to make that mistake. And they'll even do things to your roommate to make gosh darn sure that you are on time for what you need to do, right? I mean, that's what they need to do. So don't punish the individual. Punish the crew and let them put pressure on the person who's being less than participatory. Oh, man. No, I thought I had. Oh, that puts two different ones together, and I'm just not awake enough to get these stories straight. Because I had a gig last night, and I'm really, really tired. Coming from the Independent out of UK, Craig Graziosi. 4-year-old boy accidentally given a vasectomy. The boy was having hernia surgery when he was accidentally given a vasectomy. Oh my. This is how this jumped the pond. I don't know how this works. All right. I didn't even notice this. This is a Texas situation. The ones who can't get their power grid straight, they can't get anything. A family in Texas is suing a Houston-based doctor after their 4-year-old son underwent an unintended vasectomy during the surgery. The child was reportedly in the hospital for a hernia surgery at the time of the incident. According to Randy Sorrells, the family's personal injury attorney, he told Fox 4 that part of the procedure involved work near... Oh. Really, I have to pay for the rest of that. Thanks. That was helpful. The operation, let's see. Okay, near the child's groin. The attorney claimed the surgeon cut the wrong piece of anatomy. The surgeon, we think, cut accidentally the vas deferens, one of the tubes that carries reproductive semen in it. It could affect this young man for the rest of his life, Mr. Sorrells told the broadcaster. Vasectomies are generally sought by men as a form of birth control. The operations are generally safe outpatient procedures and are relatively inexpensive and highly effective at preventing pregnancies. Though once a permanent procedure, many vasectomies can be reversed, and in some very rare cases, the vas deferens can actually grow back together. The surgeon who operated on the boy has no history of malpractice and has otherwise never received any negative reports on their work. Mistakes like the one made on the toddler are generally very rare due to safety precautions built into the surgery process. It is not a common mistake at all, Mr. Sorrell said. Before a doctor transects or cuts any part of the anatomy, they are supposed to positively identify what that anatomy is and then cut. Here, the doctor failed to accurately identify the anatomy that needed to be cut. Unfortunately, cut his vas deferens. That wasn't found out until it was sent in for pathology. The attorney said he and his family's top concern is for the boy's health. They are considering options for reversing the procedure. But the attorney noted that doing so would require the boy to undergo more surgery. The family's biggest concern is how this might affect their child physically on the ability to have children in the future and emotionally, Mr. Sorrell said, along with having to explain this to a potential partner who you are going to have children with. Mr. Sorrell fears that the 4-year-old will spend the rest of his life facing fertility issues. The Texas Children's Hospital said in a statement it could not comment on the incident. Texas Children's Hospital's top priority is the health and well-being of our patient. It said, due to patient privacy requirements, we are unable to comment. Boom. But it's not as bad as, like, losing your larger penis in a botched... Well, it wasn't a botched surgery. That wasn't fair. They had to choose, and the one that worked more effectively is the one they kept. Unfortunately, it was the one that was more diminutive, and apparently a lot of the internet lost their mind. But again, the boy's health is more important. I mean, he's a boy now. We'll see what happens later. Right? I mean, he could be halfway on his way to his... Never mind. If I have this right, Spain declared war on Great Britain in 1779 on this date in support of France and the United States, starting the Great Siege of Gibraltar, which goes on to last 3 years, 7 months, and 2 weeks. 1858, Abraham Lincoln says a house divided against itself cannot stand, accepting Illinois Republican Party nomination for the Senate. 1904, Bloomsday, date of events in James Joyce's novel Ulysses. How's that? It would take you all the way back. 1963, Soviet space mission Vostok 6 is launched with Valentina Tereshkova on board, who became the first woman in space. Now, keep in mind that they don't view, Russians don't view their citizens as much more than livestock. So, somebody probably didn't like this girl and said, hey, let's see what happens. If she survives, we forgive her. It's kind of like being a witch. Hey, we're going to launch you into space. If you survive, you're a witch, we kill you. If you don't survive, you weren't a witch. Sorry about that. You're dead. Okay, 2000. Israel complies with UN Security Council Resolution 425 after 22 years, which calls on Israel to completely withdraw from Lebanon. Israel withdraws from all of Lebanon except the disputed Sheba farms. And I think that's under contestment, even as we speak. Well, I'm burning through all of it, aren't I? Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes. I listen, obviously, to way too much Frank Zappa. That was another Zappa quote. Uh-oh. Okay, here's a Florida guy that I never liked in the first place, and how he became famous is basically the result of the culture that is hominis americanus. Bam Margera, located after fleeing rehab, taken back for treatment. Right? Like, why we should even care about Bam Margera. The guy, Bam Margera's on his way back to Florida rehab facility he bolted from earlier this week. We're told he was found in a nearby hotel after he was reported missing. Sources close to the Jackass star tell TMZ Bam shacked up at a hotel in Delray Beach after bouncing from the rehab facility, and cops and a crisis intervention team located him Wednesday and are escorting him back to the treatment center. We are told he went back voluntarily and didn't fight it. Remember, the rehab center manager says Bam is supposed to be there under a court order, which is why police are taking him back. TMZ broke the story. Bam was reported missing Monday after splitting from the treatment center, and cops went looking for him. We're told Bam, who recently completed 1 year in the drug and alcohol treatment program, is not believed to have relapsed, but there is some uncertainty there because he's been off his medication since leaving the facility. You're off your meds, dude. Our sources say Bam's frustration with the rehab center was stemming from the fact that he was not getting special treatment as a celebrity, unlike other rehab stops in his past, and grew frustrated enough to leave. Wow. It's hard to teach humility, isn't it? Oh, wait a minute. More stupid people. This is awesome. This is a great cache of stupid humanist Americanas on display full. Joe Exotic, the wedding is off, y'all. Joe Exotic has apparently split from his prison fiance. And it looks like he has a Wonder Woman tattoo around his neck. His fiance does. Joe Exotic's got to be singing Looking for Love in all the wrong places. His wedding plans are suddenly off now that his Twilight-esque relationship with his prison fiancée is donezo. Joe's divorce attorney, Autumn Blackledge, tells TMZ Joe believed he'd fallen in love with fellow inmate John Graham, but ever since John got released from their federal prison in Texas, he'd move on and ended things with Joe. We're told Joe will continue to have a close relationship with John's son and some members of his family despite their split. Joe has only nice things to say about his ex. Sounds like Joe's broken heart is healing quickly, though. We're told a very special man came back into his life recently, someone picking up where they left off before he put his head up his ass. No official word on who it is yet, but a name comes to mind. TMZ broke this story. Joe filed for divorce from Dylan Passage in March, with his relationship with John being the reason why. Joe and Dylan were estranged for more than a year before Exotic filed divorce docs from jail. We were told Joe Exotic's divorce from Dylan is still making slow but steady progress, so there's a chance this mystery man might be someone totally new. To the public, anyway. Prison plot twist. I mean, prison love drama. That's just woo. And the fact that these people are famous is what's really. Oh, wait a minute. I don't watch TV, but I recognize the titles. The Voice, apparently. Kata Hay arrested for sexual contact with a minor. Country singer Kata Hay, a former contestant on The Voice, has been arrested for allegedly having sexual contact with her friend's son, TMZ has learned. Hay was taken into custody Tuesday in Sumner County, Tennessee, and according to legal docs obtained by TMZ, the alleged incident started with the 35-year-old singer making sexual comments about a 16-year-old boy in front of his parents. Cops say Hay had been staying at the family's home for a short period. I'm guessing a former contestant didn't win and needs to couch surf to get by. Anyway, those comments allegedly led to physical contact, with the teen claiming Kata made out with him and forced him to touch her inappropriately multiple times against his wishes. Ew. The 16-year-old's mother told authorities she confronted Kata and recorded their conversation before ordering her to leave the home. According to the documents, the mother's recording included Hay acknowledging the incident had occurred. It's noted Hay seemed to be under the influence during the confrontation, at least according to the mother. The singer, who made The Voice Top 20 back in 2016, was arrested and also processed for a probation violation related to a separate DUI case. Hay told TMZ, as you know, a charge is not a conviction, and she declined any further comment on the case. Well, drugs are bad, okay? Well, here's a feel-good story, and I caught part of this because I know some of the cats in this guy's orbit. Ryan Adams, I'm 9 months sober and really, really sore. Okay, that's not related to the Joe Exotic story, just letting you know that, right? So Ryan Adams is ready to get back to performing for his fans after some of the most difficult years of his life, telling us his prep has him 9 months sober and super sore. We got the singer-songwriter out on a run at the Hollywood Reservoir Wednesday, a place that's become familiar to Ryan as of late. He tells us he's been working through his mental health struggles with 5 to 6 miles of running per day, and it's also helped him stay clean. He's also mounting a comeback after a 2019 New York Times report accusing him of sending sexual messages to an underage fan, as well as being manipulative, obsessive, and controlling with 7 other women, including his ex-wife, Mandy Moore, and singer Phoebe Bridgers. Eventually, the FBI cleared Adams in the underage messages case, but he hadn't really gotten on stage since then. Now he's just announced an 8-gig string of shows, including Chicago and Milwaukee, to start in October. This after he quietly took the stage for 5 comeback shows in May. Sources close to us tell us ticket sales have already been strong, proving fans still want to see him in action. While Ryan couldn't exactly tell us his thoughts on cancel culture, avoiding the topic by reminding us just how sore he was, you got to imagine he's excited about the chance of a legit comeback. Oh yeah, and watch the clip to find out what junk food the rocker claims was no bueno in helping him stay fit. In the immortal words of Cartman, cheesy poofs. I want my cheesy poofs. $20 says it was cheesy poofs. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we're not prepared for that. Yes, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take another news, weather, and sponsor break. So, if you don't mind, the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. We'll be right back after all that. Oh, yeah. Slamming. This is almost too good to let go of. But I gotta go. Gotta go.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The number of new COVID-19 cases in the state dropped for the 3rd straight week, even as hospital admissions continue to tick up. The state reported just over 23,000 new cases, a drop of 2,500 cases, or about 10% from the preceding week. Novant Health has announced its new location for one of its Michael Jordan family medical clinics. That clinic will be located at 3009 Princess Place Drive near Creekwood South Apartments. Novant purchased the land from the Wilmington Housing Authority thanks to a $10 million gift from the basketball icon. The other clinic bearing his name will be at 15th and Greenfield Streets on land donated by New Hanover County. They will offer primary care, integrated behavioral health, and community health workers. And now to Cape Fear Community College, where eligible high school graduates in North Carolina can have their tuition and fees covered at CFCC for up to 2 years. The money comes through the North Carolina Longleaf Commitment Grant. Class of 2020, 2021, and 2022 high school graduates may be eligible to receive this grant for tuition and fees toward a degree or to attain transfer credit. The money does not need to be repaid. Full-time eligible students can get between $700 to $2,800 per year. Part-time students may receive a partial award. The Longleaf Commitment Grant program ends at the conclusion of the 2023 spring semester. And Wave Transit is offering its services to travelers as gas prices continue to skyrocket. Wave Transit tweeted out that tomorrow is National Dump the Pump Day and that people can participate in a Dump the Pump challenge and win a free bus pass. All you have to do is post a photo of yourself on Instagram riding Wave Transit, biking, or walking using the hashtag DumpThePump2022 and tagging RideTheWaveILM. Participants will be contacted by Wave Transit staff via direct message in the platform. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands today as our highs climb into the lower 90s away from the coast. Middle and upper 80s along the immediate coastline. Excellent beach weather with low-end risk for rip currents as well. Only a small chance for an isolated shower to develop later this afternoon. As for tonight, partly cloudy skies in store for us and temperatures are falling to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's a tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO's coasttocoasttree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Yeah, probably.
There we go. Oh, I even had one queued up, or I thought I did. It was supposed to do something like that. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. And as promised, we have our friend Andrew Donaldson. My goodness, you are dolled up, my friend.
Yeah, I've been bedfast for 2 weeks. Felt like dressing up. I want to feel better, so
that'll
get
do
me
it.
Dressed up. I got a thing at 10 too. So.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. So
getting a little something other than my sweats from where I've just been laying in bed for 2 weeks sick. I just felt like wanted to feel like a functional adult this morning. So anyway,
but very little.
But I look good
comfortable.
doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I look good doing it, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I think that came from your time in the military, because you look good in a set uniform. You just changed the uniform.
I until my last year in, when I had an office job, because they were putting me out medically, so I had to do an office job because I was medically restricted. I almost never wore dress uniform. I hated spit and polish. I wasn't a big, I wanted to be really, really good at my job, and I was really good at my job. And so until that last year, I almost never wore my dress uniform.
Yeah, just let me wear boots.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the last year I was in, you have like blue Tuesdays where you had to wear a dress uniform just because you're in the main office and things like that. So I wore my dress uniform a lot more the last year I was in than I probably wore in the previous 11 years combined. But it's just one of those things.
You only bring it out like every 3 months for inspection or parade or something.
I mean, not even, you got to remember, because 9/11 happened, a lot of that stuff went by the wayside. And then the job I had, we were on heavy deployment rotation. We were gone all the time. And, there wasn't a lot of time for that kind of stuff. You were just busy.
Now,
so, when you're deployed for 9 or 10 months, you don't even take your dress uniform with you, which was fine by me. So you're wearing your deserts, or then we had the ACUs come out later on.
Right.
So it was always that sort of thing. So, which thank God, because I can't even imagine wearing a full dress uniform when it's 125 degrees. But,
and blowing
I
sand
can't.
Everywhere.
I take that back. I can't, because I was in Vegas the last 2 years of my hitch. But, yeah, it's just funny.
So you had an incredible guest this morning, and I caught some of it. Did not catch all of it because I was working. But towards the end of your thing, you were talking about the job situation, where we have you rattled off some numbers of people that were upset about their retail job.
It's not just retail job; it's service industry in general.
People
don't understand. We talked about this, and you've worked in restaurants and stuff for a long time, so you understand this.
And this is my pushback.
People didn't understand during COVID. One of the big economic things that didn't really show up, but it was showing up in the unemployment numbers, and people were having a hard time figuring it out, was if you don't have, if you're one of those employees, and there's a lot of employees like this where they're just picking up shifts, they're working 30 hours a week, 25 hours a week. Parents who work while their kids are in school. Well, if your kids aren't in school, those people don't work at all. And if they don't have security about whether their kids are in school or they don't work at all because they can't go work for a week and a half and then take a month off. And, they just don't work at all.
Right.
So what happened was a lot of these service employee industry folks, they started figuring out really quick that's like a lot of those fill-in type people or call-ins, a lot of people call them restaurant industry. They're like call-ins, like, hey, I can call this guy and get 6 hours out of him or whatever the case may be. Peak flow hours. There's a lot of different terminology for it. Those people just basically disappeared from the job market for 2 years. There weren't any. They just weren't there because they can't do that sort of thing because now they're primary child caregivers or they're whatever else.
Okay, that was then. This is now.
Yeah, but what happened is now that they're back, because of the labor market shrinkage, people have more options because the labor market's going really good. So if you're badly running your business, businesses get addicted to what's called last second scheduling or last minute scheduling. They get addicted to it because it's the easiest way to do it. They wait till the last minute and then they do their scheduling for a week or 2 weeks in advance. Now, some states like New York and California, there's actually regulatory laws about you have to give people their schedule, 3 days in advance, 7 days in advance, whatever the case may be. But what happens is these people get addicted to it. And I was a shift worker for a long time and I've managed shift workers. So I understand both sides of this. They get addicted to just not doing schedules out ahead of time and just going with it. The problem is that jerks people around in their real life really, really badly when they don't know when they are or are not working, especially something like a restaurant or a service industry job where you get moved around to cover peak hours. Like a restaurant, obviously, you have dinner rush or a lunch rush or whatever the case may be, right? You need extra people, so they start shuffling people around to cover those rushes. The problem is now that the labor market's contracted and these people have options is if you're a manager who's doing that to your employees, the employees are just saying, screw it, I'm done and walking off. And then they go find a job and they do that when it's done. But the numbers on that were absolutely striking. There was something like 60% of people don't have scheduling. Excuse me. Don't have scheduling confidence in their work. That has a tremendous economic effect and a cultural effect. If you don't know when you're working, you don't know when you're buying groceries, you don't know when you're going out to eat, you don't know when you're purchasing gas, you don't know when you're doing anything. That has a tremendous ripple effect in the economy. And before people go, well, how many? That's 15. If you just do restaurant and front-facing customer service retail people, that's 15 million people that this is a major issue with. And 60-some% of them are saying that their scheduling is a major issue with how they get paid and how they spend their money. This is a big economic thing that doesn't get talked about. It doesn't make headlines. But when it came out, this was a CNBC post. We linked to it in the show notes like we always do. We want you to read it for yourself. This is a real thing, and it's something that the media class and the commentariat class don't talk about because they're not usually shift workers. They don't understand these things. But somebody like you can probably tell me even more because you're still in that world where you work odd hours like last night. This tremendously affects when you spend your money, where you spend your money, and how you plan to do your money. So when we're talking about labor shortages and economic issues, I think this is an important aspect to talk about.
Well, part of it, I'm going to go back to one of my very first gigs was, as a kid working at Wendy's. And
did they have the super bar?
The super salad bar thing? Not yet.
That thing was awesome.
They didn't have that, but we did have
people that are young right now do not understand the awesomeness of the Wendy's super bar.
Dude,
you got tacos at Wendy's. I'm not even making this up. They think I'm making this up. You could get tacos on the bar at Wendy's. It was amazing.
Most of the people that you're trying to reach don't remember John Hinckley, who was released from prison yesterday, by the way.
And had his gig canceled, which was hilarious. Like, what do you think he's going to do? Show up and shoot it up?
What gig?
He had a gig in Brooklyn. It was sold out, and they canceled it last minute.
You mean like a music gig?
Yeah, he's on YouTube singing like, singer-songwriter stuff.
I should get him on the
probably
Voice
need
and
to
Pen.
put him on. Probably need to put him on Pen and Poets. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that might work out. But anyway, during my time, I had lamentations, obviously, of being in this job, literally flipping burgers and frying fries. And my dad said to me, "This is your education for education." Meaning the more you hate this job, the more you should want to excel at your next. that you should not want to do this. This is not meant to be your vocation.
End goal.
End goal, exactly. This is meant to
Yeah.
get you through and to give you something to work with. Learn your ethics, learn your interactions, learn your relationships, but know that this is not your get-rich-quick scheme. This is your learning how to be an honest, working person, and at some point, the way they treat you allows you to see yourself as more valuable as you were when you got there.
Correct. Say that again real loud for the folks in the back from Overflow.
So you develop the work ethic that makes you valuable, that once you get tired of being treated that way, you recognize your value and can step from that. New York Post this morning, one of the stories I covered, a manager had put on the door, for every minute you are late for work, you will be required to work for 10 minutes after 6 p.m. For example, if you arrive
Good luck with that.
at 10:02, you will have to stay an extra 20 minutes until 6:20. This type of punitive arrangement wouldn't be necessary. But then again,
I'm pretty sure this is also illegal, by the way. But
right.
Continue.
We'll see what happens. And I was thinking they should do it the military way, that they don't punish the person. They punish the crew. So the whole crew has to stay 20 minutes after this guy goes home 20 minutes early. The next time this person shows up, they will be reminded by the entire crew, right? You didn't have this in military. When one guy screws up, the entire squad comes down on him like a hammer.
We did, but the military is a different thing because, one, everybody's there voluntarily. Two, everybody gets paid consistently. And three, you knew what you were signing up for.
Well,
now here's something I'm delving into. And I haven't fully formed this thought. I'm just workshopping it. There's a lot of the labor shortage on the lower end of the, and I don't mean that derogatory. I just mean the lower end as far as the pay scale. Minimum wage to $15, $20 an hour. Entry level, that kind of a job.
Unskilled, right? Untrained.
I hate that term unskilled because there's no such thing as unskilled labor because otherwise it's not labor. It's just you're a rock.
Well, if you're flipping burgers, it's not a skilled job. You're trained.
I don't know, man. Somebody that's really... Did you not have a hierarchy of, hey, this is the best guy on the grill. We need him when it really gets crazy? That's not that's a skill.
It can be, but when you're, like the blank humans I referred to in the piece.
If you grab a guy out of the Jet Propulsion Lab in California that's a rocket science and throw him on the Wendy's grill at 5:45 p.m. in a major U.S. city, it's not going to go well. That's a skill.
Not at first.
It's not being able to jimmy the market, but it's a skill. Anyway, the point is, here's the thing. The lower ends of the service economy is where the labor shortage is the most.
Yep.
I really think we're underselling how much of it is just really, really bad management and bad leadership and bad treatment of the employees. And now that they've got a little option because COVID, the entire country told them that those people, nobody cares about you but you. So everybody took the 2-year lesson and went, well, they're all out for each other and they're making us work when everybody else got to sit home. So I better look after me. They all learned that lesson really, really well, and they believed it. And now when they have options, like they have options right now, because, fast food places are putting how much they're hiring right on the signs. You see it all over town.
But it doesn't help if it's a parallel move.
It doesn't help if it's a parallel move, but what does that tell you? They're not moving for the money and they're not moving for the advancement. They're moving for the situation. So the situation tells me, I think way more of this than even the economics. There's just been so much bad management and mistreatment of the labor that now that they've got an option, they're going, yeah, it's a lateral move, but I get treated better over there, so I'm going to go over there. I think there's a lot more of that going on than meets the eyes here.
I think you're still shuffling the same pawns that, it should still be impetus for, I don't want to work in this environment anymore. What do I need to do?
If you're in that environment and you got, hey, this guy's treating me like a jerk, and this guy over here is going to at least pay me a commensurate salary a little bit more, and they're going to treat me halfway decent, I'm going over there. And it doesn't cost them anything. I think there's a lot of that going on right now.
I think you're just trading one end of the horse for the other, depending on which, you're just shuffling from one job to the next. They're going to receive that same treatment to varying degrees as they move around if they are all dependent on the same scheduling and the same principles of employment or contracting or whatever. The advantage I have...
But they're not thinking about principles of employment. They're thinking about what is my situation right now today between now and 9 p.m.
Right.
And when you're thinking about that, and it's, $12 here and $11 there, or $17 there and $16 here, and they're like, you're jerking me around. You're not giving me steady shifts. You won't be straight with me. I'm going over there and doing the same job for the same money, but they're going to treat me better. I think there's a lot of that going on.
I think
I'm
that'd
going
be
to
a
dig
good
into it more, but I think there's a lot of that going on that's just not showing up in the data because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't otherwise make sense other than the fact that we've completely shut down immigration for 2 years during COVID, and a lot of those jobs would be entry-level immigration type stuff. So that's part of it too. But the domestic labor shortage stuff, I think a lot of this is just people going, you know what? It ain't worth my time to go get treated like crap for 25 hours a week. I think that's a lot of it.
Well, so if the number you're saying around 60% of these people, I'm going to say 2/3, right? Because that's just more fun.
Fair.
They have a 60% or 60. They have a 2/3. Where are they going to go? If
hold on.
2/3
Let me
of the
get the
jobs
actual
suck, where are they going to go? The other 2/3 of the people aren't going to go to the 1/3 of the jobs that aren't being treated like crap. So it's going to be a lateral move, not just in pay and structure, but in their own environment. They're just moving from one corporate a-hole to another. They're going from one last-minute scheduling environment to another. They're really trading sock for sock. I don't see how this is, I would think that they would use this as I did, as an impetus or some sort of motivation to get away from that, because now my advantage is, like last night, I chose that schedule, worked out the arrangement so that it's worth my time. Pretty much the same for all the gigs. Because at
Hold on, because I was just trying to remember it. Let me actually pull the data here. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is fall 2021, so this is 6-7 months ago. 110,000 retail. This is retail and food service personnel, so front-facing customer service.
The very people I am referring to.
I mean, this is you, right?
It was.
64% of workers received less than 2 weeks' notice of their forthcoming work schedule. 57% experienced shift timing changes, including having 1 day or less notice of these changes. 36% were scheduled a closing shift with an opening shift the following day. That means they get less than, what's the,
like
the old
I did
metric
last
was
night.
Yeah, the old metric was 1 to 3. Your day should be in thirds, like work a third, personal a third, sleep a third, like perfect scenario kind of thing.
Right.
That means 2/3 of your day is work, which is not healthy. 42% of workers had no input into the timing of their work schedule whatsoever. You want to talk about cranky people? That's a good way to get it. Now, here's the other part of this. Hold on 1 second. I want to make sure I quote this correctly. So right now, New York City is currently suing Chipotle, the restaurant chain. I don't eat at Chipotle. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just reporting it. The reason they're suing them is they alleged scheduling violations because they passed laws about this sort of thing. These laws are such law-scale lawsuits put pressure on all employers, I'm reading from CNBC here, to change their ways even if that makes the time. So here's what happened. So Chipotle was doing last-minute scheduling. Otherwise, they were giving them less than 1 day's notice of a schedule change, right? So New York City went and passed a law, including union properties. So this would include union and non-union labor because it's a city law, right?
Okay.
And they said you can't do this. And they're now suing Chipotle because more than 12 of their locations, they did this. So this is a court case working its way through the system right now. All right. So here's my question. Under the New York City law, here's what it says. Now, part of this was also the vaccine requirement. So this got updated during the COVID stuff. But let me ask you if you've ever had a work situation where any of this applied without it being subjected to regulation. This is directly from the law. I'm reading it verbatim. If an employee submits proof within this time frame, the employer must allow the employee to return to work. This is if you have to take time off, right? If an employee does not submit proof within this time frame, the employee can discharge the employee with just cause and does not have to follow progressive discipline measures. Now, in North Carolina, we are a no-fault state for employment. They can fire you for no reason whatsoever, right? So a little different, but still.
Right.
The employer must give the discharged employee a written explanation of the reason for termination. Here's the bit. Schedule change premiums for canceled shifts still apply. If an employee cancels a worker's scheduled shift with less than 14 days notice, that's 2 weeks. That's pretty generous. Including to meet the key requirements of the New York City and its statute, the employee must pay the worker the applicable schedule change premium. In other words, they actually have to pay them more if
To
they
not
jerk
be
around their
home.
work schedule. Yeah. So they don't only have to pay them, they got to pay them the premium wage, which would be the highest end of whatever their wage scale on the books were. But for folks that haven't managed businesses, every employee you have that's an hourly employee has a wage scale because you have to pay them overtime. Premium would be the absolute max pay they have plus time and a half. So it would be their overtime pay, basically. So it'd be their max schedule time and a half. Everybody knows what time and a half is, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a job where if they changed your schedule without giving you 14 days notice, they had to pay you time and a half for it?
So,
I mean, that's pretty generous.
It is incredibly generous, but that's also
I actually think that's too generous. I think it should be scaled down. I think like 3 days, 7 days, something like that. Because when we did work schedules, we would have a 60-day, a 30-day, and a 14-day schedule.
None of
usually.
this is allowing for or asking about conversation. For example, it is not uncommon for at least some sort of contact or some sort of conversation to happen among the employees themselves. You know,
because they switch shifts.
Right.
They cover each other, correct.
And
this is management dictating to you, hey, you got to do this.
But this is really, I guess, because of when I was brought into this culture, that it's more of a nature of the beast, right? But in knowing this, in the gig that I have now, I don't have to worry about that scheduling, you know, because most events are scheduled weeks, months in advance.
So well, music gigs are different too because you're booking, well, and you know this, because it's tied to the venue, which is a whole different. You're hired labor for an event that's already being put on. It's a little different than like a shift worker at a restaurant where you're, you know, not to be grumpy about it, but you're basically plugging a cog into the hole, right?
Yeah.
When you're a gigging musician, you're the centerpiece of a bigger machine because you're the band or the music or the actor doing the sound or whatever for the venue space. So that's why it gets planned out ahead of time. And this is stuff when you do regulation, people don't realize, you
There's
know,
a
the
lot of
different,
angles
you know,
to this. But at the same time, it's
musicians can be hourly employees, and the servers that are serving food, where the rest the musicians are playing, are hourly employees, but they're doing two completely different functions, even though they're probably getting paid about the same.
Right. By the time
in the
it's all
same
over.
space at the same time, but they're doing two different functions. Should the same regulation cover both things? It does, but should it really? Because it's two different things.
Right. And it should also be more of a conversational than punitive. For example, that 20 minutes for every minute or 10 minutes for every minute you're late type of mentality is not going to encourage people to be more cohesive. But I'm still sort of pushing back on the lamentation of the job schedule, because that is pretty much the nature of the beast. It's not uncommon to be called in the middle of a shift. You know, somebody got arrested, somebody got hurt, you know, whatever case may be.
I had a shift at Walmart. This is a true story. I was working my swing shift. We were GM receiving, so he came in at 4, started unloading trucks, and if you got done with the trucks, you went and stocked on the floor. But usually we had to unload trucks, and we had one guy go out sick early on the shift, so we went from 5 to 4. And then the other 2 guys got on a fist fight on the floor and both got fired on the spot. So now me and JJ Mullins end up having to throw 3 trucks by ourselves.
Yeah.
So we got 6.5 hours of overtime, which was ungodly amount of overtime. I was getting $5.35 an hour. I thought I was rich. This is when the minimum wage was $5.15, I think, at the time.
And your shoulders were like sculpted.
Oh, I couldn't. I mean, I got off work at like 8:35, and I was back in at 3:30. But I was happy as a clam. I was like, man, I made a week's pay in one night.
See, but you would respond to this survey the same way.
Yeah, but stuff. I mean, that's an outlier, obviously, because you know, Jim just lost his mind and clocked that dude, and we were all like, yeah, we kind of saw that.
Oh, we never see that happen in restaurants across America on a daily basis.
Oh, if it'd been in the back, we could have kind of massaged. This happened out on the floor. Like, thank God, this was pre-smartphone, so there wasn't like viral video of it like there was then today. This is 1999.
Because you could have made money on that.
Yeah, this is 1999, but they went right. They took out a whole end cap wrestling around, and Jim just clocked the dude.
Whoops. Well, sir, I know you need to go because in like 20 seconds you're on the air.
That was a fun conversation about something actually meaningful. We should try that more often.
We should.
Great Hurtel today. Do not miss it. Yesterday's came in late because I was medicated. Yesterday's show, today's show, tomorrow's show. These are 3 banger episodes of our program. Today's Daniel DiMartino. If you do not know who he is, he immigrated here from Venezuela. They have started the Dissident Project. He's going to talk about communism from somebody who lived through it. Do not miss this episode. It's fantastic. Yesterday's episode, John W. Miller talks about Little League Baseball, how we sold it out, how that changed the culture. It's right up your alley, my friend, to some of the stuff. And ordinary-times.com got this writer named TK Turbo up as a featured piece. Make sure you check that out.
Oh, I don't know how that happened, but
I do. You sent it to me, and we, cleaned it up and made it legible. Take care, buddy. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Corrected all the English. Thank you so much, dude. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great time.
Sir.
And ladies and gentlemen, the rest of us have to, prepare ourselves for the rest of the day. That one doesn't start as hard as I thought it would. There it is. So thanks for tuning in to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Join us again tomorrow. We will cover more stuff. Might even have some voice and pen, Kukaloris and Andrew Donaldson. Possibly even a rare Chad Adams sighting. In fact, I would challenge anybody who wants to ask Chad Adams a question to give us a call at 910-444-0281 sometime during the show on Friday, tomorrow, and see if we can't get him to respond to your request. But anyway, with that in mind, we will see you tomorrow right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad.
Keeping Bald Head Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi. Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The number of new COVID-19 cases in the state dropped for the 3rd straight week, even as hospital admissions continue to tick up. The state reported just over 23,000 new cases, a drop of 2,500 cases, or about 10% from the preceding week. Novant Health has announced its new location for one of its Michael Jordan family medical clinics. That clinic will be located at 3009 Princess Place